Robert's Rules of Order and Freedom of Information Act for all city commissioners, committee members, etc. Date to be announced. I will be there because I need to refresh the Robert's Rules of Order. I know a little bit about them, but it's been a while. Okay, it's been a minute. All right. Also want to announce that, under announcements, that our own Trina Brown Hicks, as you know, moved into the city council position. So as such, she had to vacate the chair position of the Lewes African American Heritage Commission, which per our bylaws means the vice chair assumes that role, which is me. So I will assume that role. But tonight we do need to elect a vice chair, as per the bylaws. And I sent folks, there's a way we're going to nominate them. Basically, someone can offer up a nomination. We'll need a second for that nomination. We'll then ask if there's additional nominations. If any of those nominations come forth and get a second, we'll take whatever candidates are left with the nominations and seconds, and we'll vote. The majority of the voting members is how we select it. I guess the majority of the quorum, and I guess that's 5 of us, right? So that's only 3. Okay. Even with 6, it would still be about the same. Anyway, so with that, we need to start off with the nomination of the vice chair. I want to know, does anyone want to nominate anyone for vice chair of the Lewes African American Heritage Commission?
Yes, I, Fallon Hilton, would like to nominate Makia Lindsay
Okay.
for the vice chair.
Anyone second?
I, Bill Collick, will second it.
Okay. So we have Mackenzie is nominated and seconded. Does anyone else have any nominations they want to put forward for vice chairman? Chairperson? Okay. Without hearing that, then we will have a vote on Mackenzie. All those in favor of Mackenzie becoming vice chair of the Lewes African American Heritage Commission, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Well, since we have unanimous, congratulations, Mackenzie. You are now vice chair.
Thank you.
Makia, I'm sorry. Why did I call you Mackenzie?
Makia Lindsay.
Lindsay. Okay. I'll get the name right eventually. I'm there.
Well, you got both names
I
together.
put them together. Sorry about that. Okay. Next on our docket is presentation and possible action on the approval of the minutes. I don't think we did you say we didn't really have minutes this time?
No, there are no minutes attached.
Okay, so we'll go past that one, and we'll move on to old business. Continue discussion and possible action on updates to the Lewes African American Heritage Commission bylaws, including but not limiting to, and then there's a couple things put forward. First of all, there was a basic update to the bylaws, which seemed to be more grammatical and just more correct. Has that ever been approved, or do we need to?
I have it here as a final.
As a final, so that's done? I mean, it was just changing, it wasn't really anything of substance, mostly just
I think it was just the verbiage,
language,
right? Mhm.
yeah, and formatting. All right, so if that's done, now, looking at the bylaws, there were a couple of, well, the big thing was, the Lewes African American Heritage Commission right now is 7 members. I want to put forth that we increase the size of the group to 9 members, because I really want to create more of a working team, and I want to distribute some of that effort out to the team. And in our bylaws, we are allowed to be from 5 to 9 members per the bylaws. The city council, it wasn't really clear the process, but I guess the issue is if 3 members are put forth, the city council can opt to approve whatever number they want, because they have to still be approved by city council. Is that kind of the way the process would work?
Yes.
I mean, if 3 were put forth, there is currently 6?
There's currently 6.
Yes, okay, yeah.
So we don't have to, there's no change in the bylaws.
No.
The bylaws says 5 to 9. I don't think we have to change the bylaws to make that happen.
No.
Per my understanding.
No, it's already in there, yeah.
Yeah, so my understanding. So I did want to have some discussion among the commission members, what your thoughts were, because we have not had that. So was there any thoughts on that?
Can I give just quick background? I mean, this is nothing new to the African American Heritage Commission. Other committees, in particular the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, they had the same range, and they've increased their number of members as well. And the main reason has been, there's just a lot more issues to deal with, and to ask 5 people, sometimes, you're putting a lot of burden on 5 different people. And, we all have, these are volunteer positions, so not everyone can attend every meeting either.
Yep.
So if you have an expanded core of members from, 5, 7, or 9, you kind of spread out the work as well.
Yep, I agree. In addition, I did want to spread out the work because I don't want to have 1 or 2 people
Yeah.
get loaded on. But in addition, it also gives us an opportunity to add some diversity to the group. We have recently picked up a few younger members. I'm not going to hint the names, right? But there can be some other forms of diversity in addition, and even younger members, because the African American Heritage Commission primarily focuses on the 50s and 60s, if you really look at it. But obviously, Lewes had some really good things going on in the 70s and 80s as well. So, we might want to make sure we be a little more inclusive of that. In addition, there may be some skill sets in the community that could be very helpful to the team. And I do know we do have several applications, and some really good applications. So I really would hate to limit it to just adding 1, quite frankly. But, again, that was my thoughts. I had not consulted with anyone other than me, and
So Khalil will go to you to start the interview process and pass it through council?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think the last I checked, I've got to go back, there were candidates that had submitted an application that they wanted. They mentioned a number of committees, including the African American Heritage Commission. But that doesn't also mean that members of this committee can't do their own recruitment. If you have somebody that you think would add a lot of value and has a skill set, as you mentioned, Daryl, perhaps, ask them to submit an application as well. I mean, that's worked, instead of just mentioning someone's name, if someone submits an application, they're officially authorizing us to consider them. But I would encourage everyone to think about who they know in town, or not in town, but in property. Bill doesn't live in town, but owns property here, but certainly has a long legacy in this town.
Yeah. And that's part of it, too. You clearly want people who, grew up here. I mean, you
Yeah.
clearly want that as a big part of this commission.
Right.
But on the other hand, there's also people who didn't grow up here that may have some skill sets that could be
Absolutely.
useful to the commission.
Darrell, I'd like to just commend you for another generation, both of you. I think it's very important, and I want to say that as you both come on, that I think that's a wonderful thing, that it's another generation as well.
Yeah, I thought it was great, because there's a lot of energy, and there's also some interest. I actually glanced through Troy Brittingham's book last night. I actually glanced through it, and his experience was kind of interesting. A little different than the 50s and 60s, but some of it overlaps, in some of that. So they had some. He had a great, per the end of it, he had a great experience in Lewes, and hopefully that's something we can articulate out to the general community. So, you had something? I'm sorry, Dee.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, I'm monopolizing discussion. Anyone else, any discussion around expanding the size of the group?
I think it's a good idea to expand to 9.
I agree, and if we have applicants, if there's people that already applied, I would think fill the spaces if we can.
Right.
Not just applicants, some really good applicants.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll go through the list tomorrow, and I'll get you contact information.
I'll be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock, so maybe I can just catch
Come
you
on in.
after.
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't, again, the process is, we don't need to, it's under bylaws, but we don't need to do anything with the bylaws. We just need to put forth our desire to get 3 new members versus 1.
And just so you know, when I speak with Julia and she gives me the current folks that have applied, I mean, I'm just simply going to go through them, and I'm probably going to contact you as chair and say, hey, this is who we have, and, there's nothing wrong with circulating amongst everyone. this and this, and there's no way I'm serving with it, and, you know, that stuff does.
Hopefully we're not.
It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Absolutely not. Okay, all right, so we'll move forward on that. As far as recruitment, I mean, I'll just put it out there for folks. We're obviously accepting more applicants for the Lewes African American Heritage Commission. Even if you don't get on the commission at this point, there's going to be a lot of efforts that we're going to be doing that you can help with, and maybe join the commission at a later point. But, you know, I did see the applicants and the applications. They're all good applications, and I do know some folks in the community that might can add some skill sets if they want to, but, you know, we have to approach that. But don't be discouraged if you're not on the commission. That's not the end all. The end all is helping to advance the cause, what we're trying to do here, so. All right.
Brown Hicks, 504 DuPont Avenue, Lewes, Delaware. I just wanted to mention that although we know there's 9 folks that are officially on the commission, that there are so many times and opportunities that volunteers can also, even if they're not officially on the commission, they can volunteer to work with the commission. So I just wanted to mention that.
Sure, thank you. Any other comments at this stage? All right. The only other bullet point I have here was, one of the things I thought would be useful is historically we have a group of people and we all sort of try to do everything. I thought maybe, and you as a commissioner, you guys can certainly feedback, if we targeted some roles for each commissioner, like not that you would be doing everything in it, but I want each commissioner to own something so that they can come to this meeting and be able to give us an update on something, or at least say, you know, there is no update on something, versus everyone, because my experience is if everyone owns it, nobody owns it, and then it tends to still go back to those 1 or 2 people, and I want to give everyone, you know, some ownership of something, because I think that's important, and I think that drives people to own it, you know?
I'm going to agree with you about that, Darryl. I do believe that when people have ownership, that it does drive them. It really does. It prepares them. So I do want to say that as well.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else comments on that? D? Put you on the spot. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely,
Okay.
yes.
And it's flexible. We'll see what your skill set, what your interests are. And I'll communicate with each of the commissioners and see what areas you might focus. But I can look at this panel and I can see there's certain areas I would think you would excel in, different people would excel in, and be able to drive some stuff in. So, but I know it's a little bit different than we've had in the past. Next, old business, continued discussion, possible action regarding planning for Black Girl Scouts and possibly Boy Scouts event. The update we have here is, I believe we have a venue now. The venue is the St. George's AME Church. We're trying to get a September date nailed down. September is, school starts up again, Girl Scouts starts up again. That way we can get the local Girl Scouts involved. They have expressed an interest. We have that contact yet. We're not going to let this program go. It's going to happen. We just have to get that. We were tied up a bit trying to find the venue for that program, and so I think at least that's untied. Reverend McCaffrey was very excited about hosting the event, so I think we'll move that forward. I mean, if it can't be the place they actually met, we're better than the oldest African American church in Lewes to be held at. So I think that's a perfect opportunity to move that forward.
Excuse me, could I say something?
Yes.
On Saturday, I was very pleased, along with Councilwoman Brown Hicks, to attend the Juneteenth in Georgetown. And those pictures, I mean, they had Black Girl Scouts. People were videoing and taking pictures. We had so many people asking questions. It was, Katrina went to the parade, and I just went and sat there, and people were gathering very early, you know. And I was glad when she came back.
You got a lot of attention. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of attention, yes.
Great. Hopefully we do the same in our own Juneteenth, right? So, actually, we've always gotten a decent amount.
Yeah.
Well, you've been with me,
large
Dee,
crowd.
so we've always gotten a decent, not just the crowd
Yeah.
there, but a lot of people were interested in the history. We've always had a decent amount of folks coming.
And that's the first time we had the pictures in Georgetown, so It was really a draw, yeah.
Trina, you're going to bring those photos, okay, so I can, because she hijacked them several months ago. I haven't seen them, so I don't have them anymore, so. All right, thank you. But anyway, that's an update on the Girl Scouts program. I said Impossible Boy Scout because we really haven't done much on that side of it. We understand Reverend Edwards may have been one of the scout leaders, I believe is what I've told. So maybe he would be a good source. I still kind of think maybe focus on Girl Scouts for this one if we don't have enough info, but we do have till September, so if someone has enough interest, we'll put it out there, photographs and information about the Boy Scouts, what occurred with that group, when, how, where. They apparently were before the Girl Scouts, but I really don't have any information other than, I saw some pictures, it looked like them, but could have been people from Georgetown or something for all I know, right? So, okay. Continuing discussion, possible action regarding Delaware 250 photo solicitation. As I said before, we have sent information, photographs, stories to Delaware 250 in the past, at least a dozen or so of them with stories associated. They published a couple of them in their Facebook pages. So at minimum, Lewes isn't unrepresented, but I encourage anyone else, if anyone wants their photographs, they don't want really, what they're not looking for is just sort of like a family photo. They want photographs of stuff, something happening or people, but they've said they don't want, I guess the word, did they use a portrait or? They said some word like that. They don't really just want a picture of Bill Colick, standing up, but, they want Bill on the sidelines, beating people up on the sidelines or something. A little more action, Bill, a little more action. But if anyone has anything, let me know. I will continue. I'm in communications with them. I can certainly forward anything over to them if you want something put up.
John, I bet you have it. The picture of Fred Thomas at Ship Carpenter Square with, I think it's
Otis
Geraldine
Smith.
Clark and Otis Smith. When you talk about a picture for that, I think that would be a wonderful picture to send to whomever as it relates to that.
I agree.
That 250th year thing. I just, when I look at that guy again, what he brought to this town, unbelievable. And so I'm going to suggest or hope or whatever that someone would get that to them. I think he really, and of course he had the ear of Otis Smith as well. And Otis Smith had his ear, and I think those two, in my opinion, did a tremendous job of building this town. I'm telling you.
There's a picture of them?
I take
Yeah.
picture of those guys together.
Yeah.
And Nalima, you might want to chime in because you have seen this. I mean, it was a big to-doing at Ship Carpenter Square, I guess probably every year, Jolly Jills and parades and whatever.
the parades,
And the mayor, I guess at that time, that probably was his property, wasn't it? But
Yes,
I mean,
I
I think,
think
and
so.
Carl just came in and said this was going to be, and it was a playground for everybody, and people congregated there all the time, and it was almost unwritten rule where you go and you had to go home to lunch and that kind of thing, and oh yeah, and I guess your parents or grandparents thought it was safe, and it was, and it was.
It was
pretty-
wide open, yeah.
Yeah, pretty special. I'm gonna tell you.
But I didn't know there was a picture of
Oh,
those
yeah.
two.
Yes,
Oh,
there
there's
is
a
a
picture.
picture.
of
I believe
them.
That's what I was
There's a
gonna say,
picture
yeah.
of them, yeah. I mean, National Constitution.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I've seen that picture, I know what that picture, I don't know if it was part of the exhibit that was at the museum, could have been.
Or it's at Fred Thomas Building. It might even be.
Yeah,
I think- I
but
think
it
that's-
definitely,
yeah.
but I don't know who has that picture.
I'm sure that Sherry Dunning, Sherry Thomas has it.
Yeah, I'm not sure whose
Think-
picture that
Yeah,
belonged to.
I don't know.
Oh,
And
I'm
it
telling you.
might be on the Memories of Facebook.
It is on Memories of Lewes Facebook page. I have a copy of the picture, but I don't own the picture, so I wouldn't have submitted it without the owner saying submit it, so.
Who do you think owns it?
I mean,
think
Sherry
it
might be-
have come from Sherry.
It might be a good first step is Sherry. I can reach out to her and see if, well, let me find the picture on Memories
Yeah, you
page.
can.
And then if I find it, I'll see who submitted it.
Now, you know, I used to say, you talk about owning that picture reminds me of Johnny Walker. You know, Johnny Walker certainly owned that beach, but all of us here had a deed to that beach with Johnny Walker, so we all owned it, really. And I look at Lewes, well, Lewes owns that picture, really.
I understand, but
Okay, I know.
I don't know if the city would agree with us.
They'll agree with it. Cross the legal.
There's value in it, so why not?
Nah, okay. No, I think it's doable. I just don't know off the top of my head who has that photograph, who submitted it. But it was in Memories of Lewes. And I'm in my mind, I thought it was in part of the exhibit that was over at the History Museum. In my mind, I remember, I've seen that picture. I know exactly the one you're talking about. It has a couple ministers in the background.
Reverend Maddox is
Yeah,
there.
yep, I know that picture, I've seen it, so we'll look into it. Okay, Thomas and Maddox, okay. All right, anyone else on Delaware 250, any other thoughts or anything like that? Okay. Continued discussion and possible action regarding website review. In general, I know we did a cursor review of the website, and Blue certainly has been uploading stuff as appropriate as we wanted to. Again, my thought is, one of my concerns is that we gather information or we do something, we in addition to just doing it, we also have to kind of collect it somewhere. Right now, the website has been sort of that. It's not collecting everything, but it's collecting some things, our Black History Month presentations. It's collecting the timeline, the Black History Month timeline, or the Black History timeline. So it's kind of becoming a little bit of a collection. I don't know, at one point, maybe we'll assign a commissioner to who knows something about that can work to make it more palatable. But there are some limitations because it is on the city site, and we can't change certain headings and things like that. But certainly a way to make it a place where people might want to go to find out stuff.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Are we able to have our own Facebook page?
I don't know.
I'll have to find out. I'm not sure, because you are a city commission, so it might just be under the city's Facebook page. Okay, Blue doesn't know either, so I'll have to find out for you. I'm going to assume no, because you're a city commission. But if you have things that you want posted, just send it to us and we will happily post, the city on behalf of.
Yeah, I don't think any other committee or
No,
commission has their own Facebook page.
I don't think so either.
Public art.
Who?
Public Art may
Public
have had it from previous, because they're the only one that actually has like a policy. They don't have bylaws. Public Art is different in that way. But I can find
We'll
out.
check, yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it'd be easier, more people would be more likely to go to the Facebook page and it'd be easier to get the kind of information that this particular commission does out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think even the city's Facebook page, the limitation is people can't just go to one, they'd have to scan through it and find
You have
bits
to-
of
yeah,
us in there.
click through.
And I don't know, I have some general thoughts about the commission, but that's a later time, but, and I recognize we have to deal with all the rules and all that good stuff, but I do want to understand what we can and can't do so we can navigate the best we can. But at some point, you can't have everyone having little bits of the information. We kind of have to put it somewhere collectively, or it minimizes its usefulness. You know what I mean? If all of us have bits of it, it just goes away. So, all right. Okay, anything else on website? Any other thoughts on the website review? I know we cleaned up a little bit, but I don't think we did a lot there. So, okay. So what I may do, one of the commissioners might, maybe as part of their role, is see what we can do, and that, again, it's probably going to be limited, but maybe at least make it a little bit better so we can direct. I would love to direct people. If you want to learn about the African American history of Lewes, go to, whatever. That would be great to direct them to that type of site. I mean, which is part of one of our mission, is to communicate that information. So, okay. Continued discussion and possible action regarding future programs, I brought this one up last month. Everyone keeps talking about this playground thing, Ship Carpenter Square, all these playground. Every time we have any program, the playground comes up. You know, so I said, well, why don't we stop making it some sort of phantom thing? Let's document what happened at the playground. Bill and I, we do have information on when it was first established. We do have at least some concrete information. I will say, I've seen some photographs of the playground, but have not seen an extensive amount of them. I would think there'd be more, you know, with people doing baseball and doing all sorts of activities. Somebody may have taken the photograph. So I guess right now, I'm going to announce to anyone here, we're looking for photographs and information about the playground. I'll also go on the Memories of Lewes website page and solicit photographs if we can get more photos. I've seen a few. I haven't seen an extensive amount of photographs from the
I wonder if
playground.
Miss Kitty Stewart Perry would have that, I mean, after living right there almost, I wonder if she would.
You know, and
I bet
I
you
can
she
certainly,
might.
I can certainly approach Miss Kitty about the playground specifically. She's on Memories of Lewes Face. She's
Okay.
active on that page, so she certainly could see that sort of solicitation. All right, but in the future, we're always looking for this to be Black History Month 2026, which is February, so we have some time. Volunteers, and also speakers. We're trying to look for a diverse group of speakers to talk about. Obviously, a lot of people were at the playground, but everyone isn't going to speak, right? So, and then we ultimately need to get a location and date for the programming as well, so.
And that's Trina, you think your sister might have some?
Of the playground, I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right.
I think the ones that we did.
You come to the podium, please.
I think the ones that we did acquire, some of them came out of the William C. Jason yearbooks, and some other booklets that I may have had from church activities. So, and I think that's where I got a lot of the pictures from that I posted on the website.
I wonder if Benjamin Stokely would have some.
And he was on the list and still is for an interview.
Okay.
He used to have some events on the playground where he had bands and car shows as well.
Didn't know that. All right,
Lima, you have any?
okay. I know you speak very fondly of the playground, so I'm assuming you were there. You speak very fondly of the playground, so I'm assuming you were there a lot. So.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Had a lot of fun.
Okay, all right. Well, we also, at Juneteenth, we have a table, Black History Table. We can solicit there as well. People come up all the time and
Yeah, that's,
say, oh, I have I think my aunt has a photo, blah, blah, blah. So we can solicit photographs of that, as well as we'll continue to solicit photographs for Johnny Walker Beach, if there's some more beach photographs people want to submit as well. So we'll keep doing that. But anyway,
One more thing there.
yes, please, Ms. Trina.
So a lot of the activities that happen at the playground, you may also find through newspaper articles, because sometimes there were pictures. Now, I'm not a researcher like that, but there's an opportunity for someone maybe to take that on or get with
Yeah.
Lewes Historical Society to help track down some of that information.
Did it have a name?
We just
Playground?
called it a playground,
Just called it a playground, okay. All right.
yeah.
I was just trying to say, if you're doing a research, you're usually looking for a
Right.
name or something, but just generally playground in Lewes, it'll pop up occasionally.
There's also I'm trying to think of, I think his name was Brandon, if I'm not mistaken. He submitted some information concerning Mr. Bobby Ball. He's a researcher for Delaware, and he's found some interesting things about the school. So we may reach out to him, and for the Nassau School I'm talking, but reach out to him, and I have his information so that he may be able to assist in that area.
Okay, Yeah, and again, I've seen some pictures, I just haven't seen an extensive amount of picture. I think there's more out there. So let's get those, let's capture it, let's solidify that story and let that story live forever and be a little bit more concrete.
I think most of the pictures that would be of like the parades and stuff we had.
That's
Because we had
what
a
I've
lot of
seen.
activities, a lot of church activities on Friday nights and all, but no one took pictures, you know what I mean? Because it was just, yeah,
I
a lot of
gotcha.
churches had things there as well.
That's primarily what I've seen in the playground, is in parades and,
Yeah, the
and that one
parades.
picture with Otis Smith and
And they
all
did have the
that.
car shows and
I haven't seen the car
baseball
shows.
games.
So, yeah, let's try, we'll get some more and so we can put something together. I think, I'm looking forward to that because it not only engages the African-American community, it engages the whole community. And I think that'll be something a lot of people don't seem to know occurred. And, you know, I think that'll be good for that month's education. All right. Any other programming ideas from the committee? I know put people on the spot. That's why we do it, just to say, was there any other things that folks were thinking that maybe we can put on the agenda for next month or something to start exploring? Okay. All right, but keep thinking of that. Again, want to make sure these things take a minute to do, so we need to get them on the docket, and we need to start the process of moving those forward. I think we've got a little momentum, so let's keep that momentum moving forward.
Have Black Civil War heroes in our cemetery on Pollocktown Road. There are some Buffalo soldiers, I think, buried there.
Okay. This is under continued discussion, possible action regarding Delaware 250 celebration, updates and participation at the state and local level. I guess that's one of the things that they had focused on, was the Black Civil War heroes and then ancestry and genealogy. And so I don't really, I know there was a book that the Lewes Historical Society had on some Black Civil War heroes, and some of them were from the area, I believe it was. I didn't really get, and this
I don't
is,
know where the ones
yeah,
were buried.
the ones buried, are they from the area, you don't know? or-
See, I don't know, I would have to
They're
check.
just Civil War, we know they're Civil War folks, okay? And I have not connected with Delaware 250 in regards to the overall programming yet, so that's something I guess I need to do. I'll reach out to you, Trina, for some help to do that connection, but I have not connected with them yet in the overall, only on the micro level have I connected with them so far. So we'll need to get involved. And I know our new vice chair is going to be heavily involved with that.
Just wanted to recognize that Ms. Kay, who sits on the Johnny Walker Beach Subcommittee, is a member of the Daughters of American Revolution, and they've actually done research on Black Civil War heroes. And she was beginning that process as well, and she sent a link to us, or to me, and I may have forwarded it to you. I can't remember if I have or have not, but she, because of the Delaware 250 trying to incorporate the diversity so that African Americans are not left out of the Delaware 250 celebration. So that was one thing that she brought to the table a month or two ago.
I noticed some activities have started, I just have not been involved with them. And I don't think our group has been heavily involved yet. So we need to connect with someone at that group. So if there's someone overall, Trina, that you know I need to connect with, so we stay in the loop and keep participating, let me know that if I haven't already have that information. All right. I think the key there is simple. We don't want Lewis's African-American community to get lost in the Delaware 250 celebration. We want to make sure that our community is represented in that celebration. I'm sure Wilmington will be represented well, but down here probably starts to be a little bit more of a challenge. New business. Discussion and possible action regarding updating the Lewis Black History timeline. On the website, we have a timeline, it's a year old. I have some updates. Blue, I know you have it now, but I don't know if we need to pull it up. But I just want to upload the newest edition, and so I want to get that okay from the commission to do so. It really only added like a page to it. If you go, it only added like a page to it of information such as the first African-American doctor at BB Hospital, Trina being inducted into the city council, different things like that we added, past and present. So if you guys okay, I'll ask Blue to upload the newest edition versus the old edition. And general corrections, because every time I write something, I always have to correct it, because I'm not very good at the first time of going at it, so.
And one correction, I'm not, although I've been sworn into city council, there is another female who was also an African-American prior to me coming on board, and
She was already in there.
yeah, but she made history, because I don't know any African-American female who sat on city council, any other ones.
Yeah, Carolyn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Carolyn was already, she was in.
Okay.
So she was acknowledged. I didn't say, I'll be honest with you, sometimes when we don't know, I didn't say she was the first, because I wasn't 100% sure of that, so I didn't say it, but that doesn't stop us from recording it. And that sometimes people get stuck on, I'm not going to record because I don't have perfect information. I'm saying, record it, and if you get better information, do it, but don't say stuff you don't know either. And I did not know if she was the first or not. I saw no record or indication.
I think she's the first, but I don't know 100% either.
So I typically just note it, and then, if we get better information, if someone says she's absolutely the first, then we'll update it to say that, but.
I have a question. This is for Lewes people, but does it have to be okay, my Aunt Emily Morris was the first African-American elected to a row office in Kent County. She was prothonotary. I don't know if that's.
This is
she
really
was from
just,
Lewes.
it's mainly Lewes, yeah. It's mostly Lewes. There are some things in there that affect all Delaware. It's just a general, mostly it's there to put everything else in context, but we're not saying first in Wilmington, first in Dover, first.
Right, I got you.
It's mostly, it's not even Rehoboth, it's Lewes.
Right.
So it's mostly for Lewis's right now. It can be expanded, but that'd take a lot more
Right,
brain
yeah. Okay,
trust
I
than
was
I
just
have, so,
wondering.
be happy to do it. But, yeah, a lot more brain trust. But anyway, want to update that if you guys are okay with it. Again, one extra page, Blue has it up. I don't think anyone's going to go through it, but I can't even take all the changes that was made. But it's only added a page is what it really did. So, all right. So are you okay? Any objections, any concerns, okay. Just want to make sure I don't want to do stuff without you guys having some input into it. I think, I'm trying to think, I don't have that with us, but anyway, we'll talk about it. Discussion and possible action regarding the Lewes Black Family List. All right. I don't know if you can pull that up, number 1. But I do have actually copies of this for everyone if they want a copy of it. I don't know how to do this because you have to take one from each. There's 2 lists. Mainly because, Okay, that's one side, and then this is the other side. Apologize that I did. I print it just because I like printing sometimes, but there's actually 2 separate lists. What I did was we took what Trina had done on the Memories of Lewes Facebook page. She asked about 3 or 4 years ago, name all the black families you could name in Lewes. So I went through all the comments on that, got everything I could pull out of there. Also, I don't need one, I have one, unless you, okay, I don't need another one.
Okay.
But, so we got all those comments. We also went to Miss Kitty Perry. Trina had a conversation with Miss Perry, so I grabbed all the information Miss Perry added to the original list. We also went to people's books. We went to history books. I went to any place I could find a family. We ended up with about 130 family names on this list. There's a couple I had some questions about. I was actually going to ask Ms. D, because I know you know maybe some of those, like the spelling, like there was a name that's spelled, I think it's Du Bois, like W-E-B, Du Bois, but it may have been spelled
yeah.
differently.
Yeah, we pronounce it Du Bois. Remember Lewes Du Bois?
This is a boy.
But is that the way they
Du Bois,
spelled it? I don't know.
I don't even know, but that's what we call it, Lewes
Yeah.
Du Bois.
So I did, those are some questions,
Yeah.
because people were just throwing out names, and they
Yeah.
spelled it differently at different times. But it's not 100%, there's no way it's 100%. Absolutely, someone else is going to come in, their name is going to come into the being, and we can put that on here. We don't have to be perfect, but you guys we've talked about all these iconic black families for a number of years, and I just think we need to document what we have and grow it as we get more information. That's kind of the way. I did want to put this, once we I did want to actually, I was going to blow these up for the Juneteenth festival, because I think it'll get a reaction from people. They'll be looking for their family and stuff on it.
They can add.
And they can, exactly, and they can add to it.
Correct the spelling.
But at some point, I do want to put it up, correct spellings, but at some point, I do want to put it up on our website as a list, because it's, I know I hear, every other meeting I hear people at were like, oh yeah, iconic families like these guys and these guys, and literally, there was 130 names that were found from those family lists. So I appreciate, Trina, thanks for soliciting that information. And I put it in this format because I thought it'd be user-friendly for Juneteenth. You know, that's really the only reason I put it in format, okay? But again, not perfect. I know we missed someone, absolutely. Someone's gonna pop up, and that's okay. It's not a crime to be off.
Was there a Highgate?
They were Willis. Highgate was his first name.
Highgate was his first name.
Yeah, Willis is on there, I know that.
Okay.
But not, I know Highgate wasn't, but Willis is on there, so, you know, commission members, certainly, if you have additions, do that. But I'm also going to solicit from the community during Juneteenth, and hopefully at some point we'll be 95, 99% accurate, right? Whenever, we're always going to be, I can't hear what you said.
I said you can also visit the cemetery on,
I'm not visiting a cemetery.
well, I
Sorry.
don't.
It seems scary to me, Trina.
But a lot of those names that are at the St. George Cemetery, so they might be
okay.
the same names that are there as well, but, yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we need someone who knows that would be better off doing that than me. I'm trying to avoid the cemetery. But, yeah, because one of the things I want to make sure I capture those black neighborhoods primarily, not all the neighborhoods, so they're captured somewhere else. Not. Okay, so that's the plan with the black family list. The next thing on the agenda is volunteer research and oral history updates and possible actions. I did talk to Marcos. I thought he was actually going to be here today to talk. I don't know what's going on with the oral history projects. I'm just not hearing anything going on, so
Marcos would be the guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's
So
the
I
guy.
talked to him, and I thought he was going to be here so he could give us an update. I know Trina, Marcos, and others did a lot of interviews, and I'm getting a little concerned. I want to make sure we get those things are captured. I know some interviews had some technical issues, I believe, but even so, let's get those. Just like the school segregation program, some technical issues can be corrected. So if we, my son actually corrected those for the school program. We had a lot of noise, but, if you have the right machinery, you can go in and fix things, and unfortunately, he had the right machinery because we paid for it. But if we can make sure we don't lose that, I don't want to, I know there was some great interviews, I want to make sure we capture all that stuff. So I'll get with Marcos after the meeting. He said he'll be at Juneteenth as well, and I just want to make sure we got an update. I'm sure stuff is going on, I just don't know what that is at this point in time. So, All right. Johnny Walker Beach, Savannah Beach update and possible action. There wasn't a Johnny Walker Beach meeting today. That was canceled. So I don't know that there would be any update from them other than the update I have, which is talking about the signage and the photographs and stuff associated with the signage. All right? Is there any other update? Anyone have any update on Johnny Walker Beach? I know Reverend McCafferty is on the team. She's not here today, and I haven't gotten any other update.
It was brought up last month. I believe Cynthia brought it up about the Johnny Walker Beach Day. We have a wedding already scheduled on that date. I had emailed her to let her know.
Okay.
So if someone can please get back to her and have her come to me with another date.
What was the date? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. But
So what is scheduled on the beach?
there's already an event on the beach. There's a wedding. So, and I know that was brought up at the last meeting, so whatever date she wanted to have it. And like I said, I did email her, but I have not heard a response.
Okay.
She's out of town. Her daughter had the baby.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's nice. All right. Yeah, because one thing, with the Girl Scout program, we want to make sure we know the date of the Johnny Walker program, so we're not conflicting that
Right.
date. So they're both in September.
And September is getting very, very busy at the beaches.
Okay.
And actually citywide, a lot of people want to get married throughout
Off-
the city
the
in
off-
September.
wedding
September is
season.
like
Wedding
crazy,
season.
yes.
Oh, okay. All right, that sounds good. The thing we had was a couple of things from Johnny Walker Beach. Cynthia and I were assigned to be a task team to create the narrative for the interpretive signage, right? And we passed around language to the team, and the team came up with, if Blue has that saw you had it on the screen already, the language, all right? And I have copies, because unfortunately, I'm a paper nut at this stage, but it's nothing. All right, so it's remember, the signage is relatively, I say it's relatively short, probably longer than it's going to ultimately be, because to do signages,
So I won't be that.
yeah, the signs have to be more concise.
Yeah.
But this is what we want on there in general, and we're going to, again, adjust as needed for the signage itself. The only real discussion we had, there was a little back and forth, but the only real question was in reference to, it was, the reference was Mr. Walker. People like to use the word Mr. Walker instead of Walker. I kind of think Mr. Walker's a little, in this sense, is actually informal, whereas I think the word Walker should be on the sign, but ultimately it's up to the team what they want, but
So that was me when
Okay.
I did the first
Yeah, that's
draft.
fine,
That's
yeah.
just respect.
Oh, yeah,
and
I do
just
remember
Like,
you.
like how I was raised, so I'm okay with it not being there. That's just kind of that was my preference when I,
no, you had people backing up on that,
When-
too. Yeah. I know Kay wanted the same, she liked that concept. I know it's a sign of respect in general, but on like a historical or type of signage, that seems to be informal. That seems to be like, one person's perspective is to call you Mr. Walker.
Yes.
That's not really everybody.
What about having it just say Johnny Walker?
I think that's.
The entire, across the board, instead of Mr. or instead of
that's a
just
great
Walker, put Johnny Walker, because it's Johnny Walker Beach.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
add Johnny.
And believe me, that with that, there went a lot of respect.
I understand, absolutely. And I just think, exactly where she's coming from. I just think when you talked about, I've done a little bit with historical signage, it tends to not go from that personal perspective, and that feels like it's more local and personal. And it tends to be more factual, not, Mr. Walker, that's a very, most people think that is a formal term. In reality, that's a term of endearment for you, right? Or for people
I was
here.
just trying to think of a way, like, just respect.
I got you.
think, because he was so monumental
should
to our
you-
area.
Should you do just in the beginning or some type of verbiage that Mr. Johnny Walker was, whatever, and then go ahead, and after that, Johnny Walker, I mean.
We can do anything you want.
I see where.
I see what she's got, I absolutely get it. I absolutely get it, but again, hopefully, we're gonna have other signage that goes up, and we do have to be consistent, a little bit consistent. The pavilion's going up, and that'll probably have some signage to it, and, you know, we just wanna make sure we're consistent with stuff.
So you said typically with like, I'm trying to think of like when I go to museums and stuff, like I guess
Yeah.
you don't really see, you don't see Mr. They
No.
say.
Well,
they
it's
first
funny,
name,
because
the
Miss,
first name, yeah,
Yeah,
so
Mi-
maybe if we do the full name like you said.
John
yeah, the full name's fine, but but honestly, they typically get cut because of space.
Yeah.
So the full name gets cut, but it's odd that Mr., which is, you think of as a formal word, is really, in this sense, a term of endearment. It's almost, like my relationship with you, and I get it. I get the absolute thing. I just don't usually see that on any sort of signage or things like that, so. Plus, I know Lower Delaware, you guys call everyone Mr. and Miss, and I say that in my life, even though I wasn't here that long, I still do that occasionally with people, because my parents would not allow me to call an older adult by their first name. I had to put Miss or Mr. in front of it. And I get it, 100%.
Yes.
No, even if the person say, you can call me by my first name, my parents would not have any of that. So I get where you're coming from, absolutely, guys, absolutely get it. Okay, well, this is the draft that we're working off of. Again, I don't think that I'm trying to look to Julia. Does the committee have to approve this, or is this just sort of the subcommittee submitted it? And,
Anything the subcommittee does, the committee would then need to approve it.
Okay.
That's just because they are a subcommittee of this
Okay.
committee. So, yes, this committee would have to approve it. So technically speaking, the subcommittee would present this to
that-
African American Heritage
yep,
Commission.
and that's what's happening. So with that then, again, I want to make sure I get this right. With that, is there a motion to approve this as the draft language? Because again, I'm telling you, there may be changes because of the process. Absolutely. Is there a motion to approve this as the draft language for the Johnny Walker Beach interpretive signage?
So move.
Did I get a second?
I second.
All right. Can we get a vote on who's in favor of that? And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Passed. All right, good. All right,
And then for next month, if we have more changes, let's get this into the agenda and post it online
The agenda for who?
for this commission.
Okay, but we've approved it, so.
Right, but if you said there might be more drafts.
More changes.
If there are more changes.
Like the previous document.
We approved it with the ability to make changes,
To
right?
make amendment.
Yeah, I think we just approved it, so I don't know what, I'm confused.
Well, you said that if there are more changes.
Oh, if there's
Said
any
as
major
draft.
changes,
Well, you
yeah.
said this is as a draft.
Well, it's always going to be a draft until we actually put on the sign. That's, my point is that the process is, all this may or may not fit. And so at the end of the day, that, we have to sit there and say what we need, what we can't need, and,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't think our group is going to be able to do that.
It's kind of like a conditional approval.
Yeah, because our group is just not going to be sitting there with them as we're finalizing the wordage.
Is there a way to reach out to the people making the sign to see what the word count is?
They said they would do the full design for
Yeah,
us,
they're
so
gonna
I
do
just
the
need to
whole
know
design.
exactly what we're putting on the sign.
Okay.
But we will have an opportunity to approve the design.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
the design will have the verbiage in it, the final verbiage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay. I just need to move forward because
Yes.
I'm trying to, because we have a certain amount of time to do this, and I'm just trying to move it forward into the next stage.
Okay.
And I know there's still a lot to do here, so I don't want to get stuck between the subcommittee and the committee.
So can we change our motion then to say approve with amendments?
You have amendments?
Like, if we need to make changes to this, can we do that? Can't we do that?
I think that's what we just did.
Oh,
Don't, yeah, you're going to see the final design.
Okay.
And the final design will have the final wording on it. This is just so we can move
Get
forward to give to the designer and say, here's
Okay.
verbiage we want. And I guarantee you, they're going to come back Oh, I don't guarantee, but it's possible this might be too long.
Well, we're also
I
discussing
think they
putting a
will.
QR code on it so that any additional information
it-
can then
it
be
can maybe in
scanned
the
by the
background.
QR code and
Maybe in the
then
background, yeah.
sent in.
And we'll present all that to the committee
Right.
at that time, the commission, and say, here's what the sign's going to look like, here's what the QR code, what's underneath the QR code, blah, blah, blah.
And that'll also have to go to mayor and council for final
Yes,
approval as
and
well.
that's what, it's more than
They've already
that.
approved that we can put the sign, but they need to approve the entire,
Yeah.
the design as well.
So- And my understanding Parks and Rec as well, is that?
Parks and Rec, I believe, already has agreed that they're fine with putting the
Okay,
sign.
so Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec is fine.
Okay,
But since this is a permanent fixture, it does have to go to mayor and council, right, Khalil?
Correct.
Well,
I mean, the only thing I
while
would
working
add,
with DENREC.
the only thing I would add, I mean, I think we're okay, but if we, the approval that was just granted, to be more accurate, you're approving moving forward with this draft. That would indicate to what we just heard that there may be some changes. You know, that we're not proving it as is, but approving it as, you know, a draft. So as the chairman said, so we can move forward and keep moving
Keep moving
forward.
forward.
But it doesn't mean we can't make some changes.
I think I said draft, didn't I? We
Yes.
approved it.
Did you say draft?
Yeah, I think I said approved.
Yeah,
the
draft.
Then I think that's
I think I
even
said
better,
that
'cause
deliberately.
you know it's not the final product.
And on the
We're not
paper, I kept the word draft because in my
Right.
mind, until we get that sign design, we're talking about draft because verbiage is just.
So I think that
changes.
covers
Okay.
everything.
All right, the next order of business, and this is under the same area. Where's my thing? Okay. No. Oh, okay, yeah. You notice I wrinkled up the second page for some reason, I can't tell you why. The other order of business is, the sub-team also came back with recommendations on photographs, all right? So with that, okay, I know you guys are saying, why does he keep sending us pictures? And you too, all right? Now, what you're seeing is, these are all the 27 photographs that we had of what we believed of Johnny Walker Beach. The exception is Trina recently submitted one additional photograph. The grant is to refurbish 20 photographs, all right? So the grant is to refurbish, oh, she's seeing family members now.
I do.
The grant is to refurbish 20 photographs. I believe between Cynthia and I, we selected out of these 14 photographs. The ones you know that we picked are the ones with the stars on the upper right, left-hand corner. If you're looking at it, you'll see a star. Typically, it's to represent different aspects, different eras we're trying to do. However, we only selected like 14 pictures, so it gives us space for 6 more photographs in addition to anything that might come forward. But the sign won't have 20 pictures on it. The sign probably won't have more than 10 or so on the sign itself. The stuff behind the QR code will be the other pictures. And when you look at the pricing from the refurbishing group, we don't really get a discount for doing 20 at a time. We can do 10, 15. They were pretty flexible. It was the same price per picture, whether we did 10 or 20. It didn't make any difference. So the thought was, start working with this group. Well, we have to get approvals, or some other approvals, I'm sure, but begin the process of start designing this thing, some design, so we can start submitting based on the 14 pictures, with the thought that we can add more, and maybe we don't have to, I don't know if this violates the grant, maybe we refurbish a picture that's not Johnny Walker Beach. I don't know if that is consistent.
And see what the
What the
grant
language
was
was, the grant,
awarded,
yeah.
because I don't think it was specifically for photographs from Johnny Walker Beach.
It
I
was
think it
just
was just
photographs.
African-American refurbishment of photos.
So-
So I have to look at that just to know for sure. But that's not a hard thing to look
I
at.
think that's true, but everything's up to interpretation, so I just wanted to be on the safe side. So we picked 14 that we thought would go nice inside. Now, all, again, conditional, because some of these pictures may not be salvageable. I mean, it's possible it won't be able to make them good enough to be on that type of a sign. Maybe they're not clear enough, whatever. Some of these pictures, they look a little fuzzy to you because, one, they're carbon copy, and some of them were literally pictures of the screen, you know, they were literally come from the screen prints or whatever you call it, so they weren't all taken from the direct photograph, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm hoping some of these are better if we actually want to get the photograph in person. The other thing of critical nature is we need to get permissions to use these photographs, right? I will say a third or more of these was from my family collection, so that shouldn't be an issue, but there are other people involved here in these photographs, as you pointed out, Phelan, that, you know, we would have to get permission to use. Now, I know the city was reviewing our permission slip. Did the solicitor approve us?
I believe he did. I will double check with Kay.
Okay, because we submitted a specific permission slip for this use because there was some pushback from some of the commission members that the city's approval or the permission slip was too broad. It might intimidate people because basically said, we can use your pictures for whatever we want to use them for. And ours made it a little bit narrower for the historic and whatever.
Yeah, the way that Alex was the solicitor was the one that was going to
Yeah.
put the final say
Because
on that.
I know some people would be concerned if you could just use their pictures for anything, right? They want to at least make it used for a certain general area. And I believe it was telling the Lewes, African American, or general Lewes history, I think is the way where we ended up being. So anyway, so these were the 14 pictures. I know we can broadcast them up there.
How long will it take for them to refurbish the photos and to put them into a digital format?
I don't think it would take that long, but there's two things we need to do. We got to get the permissions, and maybe the challenging one would be, ideally we get the original photograph.
Okay, because we're going to need to, before we can move forward with any of this, we're going to need to get the photos restored and put into the format that the
Yep.
designer is going to need.
Okay.
And I believe that's probably a PNG format. But we're going to have to, because they're very specific with what they're able to use to print.
Okay,
So we're
that's
probably
good
going
to
to have
know.
to move that way first.
That's good to know. That's good to know. If we could find out what, the refurbisher, I'm pretty certain could do PNG or JPEG. I'm sure they could do either one of those formats when they refurbish it. But ideally, we would, if we can narrow down at least 14 of them, we can, and by the way, the Johnny Walker picture at the back, we just did that as default. We know that's going to go on the sign. We didn't put an asterisk or even review it. We just said that's definitely going on the sign. So we didn't have it's only one of them. So it wasn't much of a choice. So yeah, we went on the sign. So what I'd like to do is move forward with the 14 photographs and start the process, because again, it's a process. And ultimately, again, there's some flexibility because we have 6 additional refurbishing opportunities. If better photographs come up, I know the one Trina had, we believe has the Johnny Walker restaurant in the background. It has a lot of little cute girls on it, so that's always, when I say cute, they're like 5, 6 years old, not, girls on the back, which always is a good sell. And there may be some others out there, because I'm going to be soliciting that also during Juneteenth. If people know what we're doing,
Sure.
They might be
a great
more,
idea.
come forth with their photographs to be used for something like that, so hopefully. So I'm going to, I guess my ask is this, similar to the first ask, is tentatively or draft, I don't know what word we want to use, but we'd like to move forward with the 14 photographs, knowing we can do the other ones at a later time.
There may be additional.
Yes, we left, there's 6 left, 6 spots left for other stuff. I don't think, given the pricing they gave us, it doesn't seem to matter that we get all 20 together at once, because the price per unit was almost identical for 10 versus 20, so it didn't matter.
I'm going to make a motion then that we move forward with the current pictures, realizing that there may be additional pictures.
Okay. Yeah, anyone second that motion?
I second.
All right, with that, take a vote. Anyone who approves, or say aye?
Aye?
I know I'm saying this really wrong, Julie, you have to correct me. Anyone
All in
opposed?
favor?
Anyone, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, with that, motion passes, thank you. All right, so we can move that forward. So I'm really sorry, Trina, we put you really at the end of the agenda. If we knew our distinguished councilwoman was going to be here in person, we may have moved it up in the agenda as a respect for her time. But, yeah, I'm going to keep saying that stuff, Trina, by the way. At this point, Juneteenth update and possible actions. Is anyone here to give a Juneteenth update? Anyone? Anyone?
I guess I will. See, I have the T-shirt.
Can you please give your name and address?
Trina Brown Hicks, 504 DuPont Avenue. Just wanted to let you know Juneteenth is upon us on Saturday, our celebration for the city of Lewes for Saturday, June 28th from 1 to 6. We will have our pre-set up on Friday, the 27th. Volunteers are always welcome. The tents, the chairs, all of that will be set up that day. The road will be blocked off that evening, and it'll basically be the same as it was the previous year, where the road is blocked off and no parking in the unloading area. This year, we did add that no cars will be allowed to move into the area due to pedestrian safety until the end of the event. If people want to leave, they can, but they will not be able to move their cars in that area. We will have, our backup location will be Lewes Elementary School. Looks like the forecast is going to be much better than last year as far as being only maybe 85 to 89 degrees instead of feeling like 115. So all of the entertainment is booked. All of the vendors have been made aware of the do's and don'ts, how to set up, when to set up, what time to arrive. And we know that the farmers market usually will be there from 8 to 12 on the back half of George H.P. Smith Park. But we always work together with the farmers market. When the vendors finish setting up, they can enjoy the farmers market and come back. And I think we're good. We have probably 70 wish volunteers. But vendors, and that includes the entertainment as well, so we're good.
Is there any role you'd like us to play, Trina, on Saturday?
Everything.
Heavy lifting.
We do have many, well, I can't say many, but we do have volunteers that will be able to come and do some of the unloading for the vendors. Mr. Collick has offered some help. The Cape and Lopin High School has also offered students, as they do every year, the honor students. We've had some members of the community offer assistance as well. And so we hope to have as many volunteers, because that helps move the unloading. And I always tell the vendors, do not expect to just stay there while you're unloading and setting up. You unload, you go park in the neighborhood, you come back and set up. That's the reason why you arrive early.
When is the earliest time for vendors to arrive?
They can arrive at 10, but I do know the food trucks usually arrive a little bit earlier. Sometimes we've had them arrive at 8.
And vendors.
Vendors arrive they want their spot. Yeah. So we mark that off on Friday.
Right.
And there is no saving spots, there's no numbered spots. When you arrive, that's the spot you have, one next to the next vendor, next to the next vendor. So we don't have any, reserved, except for the history tables in the registration tables for the African American Heritage Commission, in the water spot.
And can you tell me,
Me too.
because I've been there for 2 years.
The
I've never been
T-shirts
able
are
find a
supposed to be
t-shirt.
delivered to me today. So I have not been home to see if they arrived, but the lady that does our T-shirts every year. So if you would like to get one on Friday to come help set up, or you just let me know what size you need, and I'll try to put one aside for you.
Okay,
We
just
should
2
have
years in a row, I
plenty.
missed getting a t-shirt. I was like, how did I miss getting a t-shirt? I was there.
Time Friday?
Friday, the tent, the 227 rent will be there approximately 9 a.m.
Okay.
And plus, the city maintenance department will also be there to assist. Yeah.
Any other questions from our esteemed guest?
You know, tell me, ice-wise, are we okay? Do we need school-wise? I know last year we sent a couple of people who were there, and they were custodians, back to get ice at a period of time.
So
because-
what I've asked for the city to provide was double the amount of water that we had from last year. I'm assuming they provide the ice as well. I'm not sure. Could you check?
Find that.
Julia's like,
I think last year,
I-
Trina, I know that they initially provided ice, but then we had. to
Probably ran out and
refurbish,
melted.
And then we sent some custodians in to get ice for us. I had
We
keys.
did, because they had the coolers. You're right.
So
It'd probably have
find
to be
out
the
if they
same way
initially,
this,
see if
will
you
probably have
would.
to be this way.
Okay,
Because
okay, we can-
maintenance
we can
is
manage.
not here all day. They're only here in the
Okay.
morning for a few hours.
I'll talk to.
So we could get some ice, that'd be great.
I'll talk to Cheyenne, so I just want to make sure, that's all.
Yeah, and we have 45 cases of water.
Wonderful, good, good, good. Good.
Okay, that's my report.
thank you, Ms. Trina.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Trina.
All right, at this point, any public comment at this point? Is anyone online, Blue, at all? No one's online? Okay.
I have,
Go ahead,
if I
Bill.
can, you know, I know we talked about the Johnny Walker narrative here. And I looked at, I've seen it somewhere about when we talk about Juneteenth and Lewes, and we say the mayor, but we don't say the mayor, Ted Becker. And I really think.
Yeah, we changed
Did we
that.
change that? Okay, great, great, good.
Yeah, you and I talked about that
Okay,
before, so.
okay.
Not an issue. Okay. Any other public comments? All right. With that, is there any motion to adjourn?
So move.
Anyone second?
I second.
With that, the Lewis African American Heritage Commission June meeting is adjourned. Look at that, I got to use my gavel.